Some people pick up piano and it feels natural for them. For me, it didn't feel natural. But the guitar, I wanted to do that right away and wanted to take lessons. And so I got really into it right away and had the good fortune of hooking up with Joe when I was 13. So I took lessons from
Wow.
him like 13 to 17. And he was doing his band called The Squares. You can hear some Squares stuff out there. Three-piece
Yep.
pop band. He was always just ridiculously like magical. Watching him play it was just crazy. They would have like live fade outs and just do things that
Wow.
none of us could really imagine doing. But yeah, so he was always kind of the sensei. He was always the master. But so I was able to hook up with him for many years, and of course, yeah, it was before he became super well known, but you could always tell that he was the man. I remember
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
lessons from a guy before Joe, who was really good, and he ended up being quite a successful writer. And he was a great player, but he was really into the writing. But he's like, when Joe came to town, he's like, you need to go to Joe. You need to go take lessons from Joe because I wanted to do all that. All that. I wanted to be like Eddie, and Uli Roth.
Yeah, yeah. How much do you feel Joe has influenced your own teaching style?
That's a good question. I've been teaching for a long time, and I think that at the time, some lessons with Joe would go well and would be interesting. I think sometimes I'm sure I was a very frustrating student. I was a young teenager and I would have things to do and I wouldn't necessarily come back with my homework and you would feel it. Um, I remember because he would talk about modes, how do certain players have certain sounds they create with the modes. And Joe is big into that. If you study guitar, you know that he's kind of the master of modal guitar playing. And we were studying a Michael Schenker song that happened to be, or we were studying a mode, we were studying Dorian. And then as I walked into the music store, just not for a lesson, but Joe was there hanging out and everybody was hanging out, and this Michael Schenker song came on. And he said, "All right, what mode is that?" And I didn't know the answer. And I was like, oh, I felt so bad. So, uh, but I guess it's an interesting question. Like, I don't know, with my teaching style, I mean, everybody is different. And as a teacher and a student, you develop a chemistry with students and you try and figure out, give students something that's going to help them in all ways of guitar playing, with develop their ears, develop, if they want to just learn a song, that's okay. I think in the beginning of my teaching stuff, it was probably more intense. I think I would probably like, okay, you need to learn 5 patterns of this and you need to be able to play, in all keys, and you need to be able to, play 5 different major scales, but do it in one position on the guitar and do all that. And now I'm much more laid back. Like, hey man, if you just want to learn to play this little melodic, you want to play the rhythm from Running with the Devil, and that's because that's what you want out of the guitar, or that's what you have time for in your busy life, then that's totally cool with me. So I think I try and find things that's going to keep people wanting to play, that's going to inspire them to pick up the guitar, even if it's just for 5 minutes in the morning, because it's kind of a cool, fun lick. And I'm still like that too. And I think people are more like that now than ever because of YouTube and things happening so fast and attention spans are shorter. I'm very much like, oh yeah, give me a lick that I can do, give me something that I can just do and feel good about playing like right away. And then of course, if people want to take it further, I'm happy to go way under the hood and get into theory because I like all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but there was this was a I unfortunately didn't save my lessons from Joe. Um, but there was something that some other student of his had posted on Facebook, which was an old lesson. He was a friend of mine, and so it was back in the day when I was taking lessons from him. And Joe wrote like the funniest thing, but it was like, um, I wish I could remember the quote exactly, but it's like, don't, allow yourself to sound poorly, or, it was something like this because he didn't do his lesson the right way.
Oh
And it
my
was just
God.
it was a funny quote. I wish I could remember what it was, but
Wow.
yeah, he would. He was just so good that it was inspiring, and still to this day, there's something about players that have just a real natural feel on the instrument. And some people have that on piano, some people have it on whatever their specialty is. But, Joe would pick up any guitar and have just the buttery vibrato that just you go, yeah, that just feels good to hear. It's not like he's trying too hard to impress or anything. He just take one note and make it sing. And that's, I've come more to that style of playing probably. Like I really appreciate when I hear people that can do just one really, really cool thing. And if they can do everything else on top of that, that's kind of like icing on the cake.